Hi, everyone, and welcome to the first week in HI402, where really this topic is just about an introduction to healthcare data. And so this is how I'm going to be sharing content with you. I prefer a YouTube video, just a little easier. Sometimes there'll be PowerPoint notes. Sometimes there will just be some drawing or an article to read. And these are fairly short in length. The purpose is not to be exceedingly long. It's the content that really matters, along with um, the other learning materials in the course. Um, so, the four main types of data that all types of healthcare organizations, from dental practices to trauma units really utilize, usually all at the same time, are clinical, operational, administrative, financial, and public health. Okay, you're going to have to excuse me. I am like house sitting for like two extra dogs for the week, along with my dogs. So who knows what's going to happen. And you can see, I think we all intuitively know this stuff. Clinical data, everything having to do with users, patients, clinical information. But operational data has become more and more important, useful, especially for that last sentence to improve efficiency. It doesn't matter what the organization is or does. Now, if you look at administrative data, that's more alongside, and it looks at operations. It involves both the user and the healthcare professionals, the clinicians and the non-clinicians. The last part, though, is much wider. It's individual in terms of the bills you and I receive. It's the revenue that the organization generates, also the expenses. And then for some organizations, they have to report things, and we think about it from a public health. All of these things are captured simultaneously, every interaction, whether it be a CVS, whether it be an urgent care. And so there's a lot of stuff happening every day. Um, I'm just going to go through fairly quickly the different types of data. And so, what we think from a clinical perspective, we look at it just from, we might think about, well, it's my patient information because all of us have generated data from blood tests to allergy medication, everything. That data, though, is used um, in terms of hopefully preventing things like medication errors, patient safety. Um, if you look at that second point here, the format of the data is very different. Now, you think about this, that if you need some sort of allergy medication, not the stuff that you're buying off the shelf, but something a little stronger, you need a prescription. That prescription goes electronically from a clinician's office, and that could vary from your hometown or maybe even something, a bigger environment, to a pharmacy. Um, we like to think that the transactions look the same. We think about it in the way that when we spend our credit card here in the United States, we're essentially dealing with US currency and obviously the US dollars. And so it's not a hard thing. Even though we might be buying something online, buying something in a different state, the currency remains the same. And such the data input. That the format of the clinical data might not look the same. It might be different currencies, and that's a way to look at it. And so the formats are key. We're going to spend quite a bit of time in this course talking about format. And so the quality and integrity of the data is sound. From operational and administrative data, it is important, as we talked about in that first slide, to track a variety of things. to make the operations more efficient. But the key part is this last bullet point, data-driven management. How can we change things, improve things, if we don't measure them, if we don't gather that data? Now, of course, sometimes we're not even sure what to measure. You think about wait times. All of us have experienced wait times, um, and there is a universal um, mandate or universal. Uh, it's universally known that it's perhaps better to have shorter wait times. That's not always the case, depending on the setting. We're going to come back to that. But the wait times, certainly can be tracked in different ways. There are certainly reasons for the wait times, but they also um, can change decisions and management. And I'll just give you one example. Um, I serve on a board of a healthcare system and here in Evansville, St. Vincent. And a couple of years ago, one of our graduate students did a wait time project for orthopedic surgeries. And the project was related to how long was the operating room turnaround time. So when one case was finished in an operating room, how quickly could the operating room be turned around so the next case could start? Because that increased wait time, which was not just a patient satisfactor, but satisfaction issue, but for the staff as well. Um, well, all orthopedic surgeries are different. A knee replacement takes a heck of a lot longer than carpal tunnel syndrome. In fact, the carpal tunnel surgery might take 7 minutes to complete. 7 minutes for one surgery, whereas the knee replacement would take much longer. And the lengthiest are spinal surgeries. And so the turnaround time for an operating room might be 20 minutes, which is, and this, but the surgeon can do the procedures in 7 minutes. And so the surgeon is working much quicker than the turnaround time. Measuring those things, and it's just an example, it's waiting times, is you quickly learn that it's not so much the same. It's not apples and oranges, sometimes apples and dump trucks, like to say. So the data that we're receiving is different, and the data for a knee replacement is going to be longer, and the spinal surgery even longer. Why do I bring that up? Well, management decisions or healthcare improvement decisions have to be made in context of understanding what's happening. Okay, so let me talk about this. So the financial data is about our bills, about our revenue, our claims. Um, and but the public health data, which has to be tracked and shared, everything from vital statistics, births and deaths to diseases, really the key is accuracy. We think back, I know it seems like forever ago during the COVID pandemic, but that accuracy of data at a national level, at a state and a local level, really set the context of decisions that had to be made and what people should do. And of course, it changed over the months and year that we were in this pandemic. Um, but, and I would argue that data was probably as accurate as it could be, but it was conflicting. It wasn't consistent. And so that led to masking or no masking decisions, closure and openings. It really had an impact, and it was coming from different sources. So that's sort of a fresh example, especially about public health data applications. So this is the currency, the standards. You can see all these codes, HL7, ICD, CPT, they are coding standards. Um, where the clinical administrative data can be structured. Think of them as different forms of currency. You know, we and so, as an example, if any of you have traveled outside the United States, even on a vacation to another country, you may be able to use US dollars, and sometimes you just won't. You have to change the currency, and you're going to, because your currency is not going to work. Now, your credit card might work, but it'll be converted into sort of the standard form, which is US dollars. And so it's sometimes much easier to understand data standards when we think about currency. And so the benefits, if you look at that, is if we all sort of are using or the standards coincide with each other, then the data can flow and we can make decisions together because it's essentially like having different types of currency. So, sort of the last slide here. Um, this course is about understanding the different types of data, but it is about striving for high quality data to make patient care optimal, operational efficiency, and really to inform the public. It is really up to informatics professionals to work within this. This is a um, common and a consistent type of issue where there are quality issues. Sometimes as the data is delayed, as said in the second bullet point, sometimes it's just not available. Um, Now, I will say if you go to that third bullet point, technical tools and human accountability like workflows. A workflow is a process. And we all adopt workflows every day. We might not call it workflows, but data also uses workflow. So, as an example, if you have routines every day, if you're going to a job, a part-time or full-time job, there's a flow in you getting to that job and either clocking in and maybe putting on a uniform if you have to and starting your task. There's a flow there. But if something interrupts that flow, your car breaks down, your badge to clock in doesn't work, then we've got flow problems. Now, you still have to be there, you still have to clock in, but how do you do that? The data helps inform these workflows or bottlenecks, as we call them. So, this is going to be a basic thing that we're going to explore. You're going to do that through some of the mini projects you're doing in this course. Okay, folks, let me know if you have any questions. Thanks very much. Bye.